In our previous videos, we've gone over everything you need to know about OCL collections. Now, let's review what we've learned. Overall, collections help you gather terminologies for your own purposes and manage them in the long term. They are made up of content from sources, which are a home for novel concepts and mappings. Whether these sources are reference vocabularies or custom content or other dictionaries, collections, or vocabularies, all of this can come together in your collection that has a specific purpose. Each collection can be made up of multiple versions, and each version has a set of references, which are the instructions on what content to pull in. All these versions can have one or more expansions which actually contain the evaluated results with concepts and mappings. Now, let's go ahead into the OCL TermBrowser and do one final run through of all the stuff we've talked about today. Here we are on my profile in Open Concept Lab. It starts us on the Sources tab, and we can see here that I've created a source that's going to help us later, so keep it in mind. We've got some custom concepts and our own custom mappings in here. But first, we're going to have to create a collection. We'll hit Add Collection here in the Collections tab. We're going to call this collection CL Example OCL. Keep in mind that your shortcode can only be made one time, so be sure to get it right the first time. After that, you can make your short name and you can make your long name, a fully spelled out name, along with a short name that would show up in shorter fields like in a table. You could also add a description if you wanted to. And we are going to set the language here as English. You could also add other supported languages if you are interested. We're going to call this collection a dictionary, and we are not going to set a validation schema. However, OpenMRS users, we highly recommend to set the OpenMRS validation schema. We're going to keep the permissions the same. We're not going to specify canonical URL. However, in the future, we would recommend putting a canonical URL in here because it unlocks some new features for OCL. Now that we've specified our details, we'll hit Create Collection. And we'll see that collection show up here in our User Collections tab. We go into here and we can see there's no concepts yet. We haven't made anything. We're going to start by adding some references. And I already know that there's a CL concept that I want to add called smoking status. So I will search for the term smoking, and I'm able to see this concept here. I've selected it, and I will hit Add Selected to put the references into our collection. Now we get a prompt here that asks if we want to cascade or not. I am choosing to cascade here so that we get the mappings of this concept and the target concept of those mappings. Essentially, we will get the smoking status question plus all of its answers. That screen here shows that we have added quite a few references into our collection. And then when we see our collection results, we can see all of our concepts that we added. In particular, the smoking status question is here, plus all of its answers are in this collection too. If you want to see the references, then you can go to the tab here and you can see these different references. But before we jump over to our versions and expansions tab, we haven't finished making our collection yet. We've added CL concepts, but we also want to add concepts from our own source or collection. For here, I have a specific source in mind that we already introduced earlier. It's under my ownership, and here it is, CL Example OCL, the source version, and we are going to get the latest version of it. And you can see that we've got the concepts and the mappings. However, we would just like to get all the concepts and all the mappings from this source. So to do that, I have a shortcut. We're going to add concepts and mappings expression, which basically tells OCL to just add two references, one for concepts, one for mappings. These are the dynamic references that will tell OCL to just pull all the concepts and all the mappings from that source that we specified. And we can see those references got added here. Comes with 4 concepts and 4 mappings. And we can see back here in the Concepts tab that they appear here too, one of them being a retired concept, of course. Now that we've done our first version of this collection, we want to add a version. We can see what's existing here, and right now we just have our head version with our auto expand head expansion. But we want to add a version for what work we just did. We're going to call this V1 for version 1. And we're not ready to release it yet. Maybe we want to do some testing first. We'll hit create. And then we will see the version of our collection here with its auto expansion here, of course. It's got all of our references and it's only got the one expansion. Now, maybe we want to create a different expansion to maybe leave out the retired concepts that were in our collection. We're going to select version 1 here to create an expansion within version 1, and we're going to select active only. So we'll create that expansion, and you will see all the retired concepts and mappings were removed from here. So here's our retired concept that got removed. Now maybe we want to explore this version just to make sure that everything is looking as expected. And if you look in expansion, E1, you can see that we've got the concepts that we expected, plus the concepts from CL. So we like how this looks. We can go back to our versions and expansions tab, and we are going to set E1 as the default expansion here. So now, whenever someone accesses V1 of this collection, it'll default to getting this set of concepts in this expansion 1. Now, some time has passed, and we know that our underlying source has a new concept in it that we want to pull into our collection. We set up our references dynamically so that it would pull in the latest content from our source that we have. So instead of going to that source and manually adding concepts, we can actually just create a new expansion here that will get the latest content. We will hit add expansion. It'll look for version 1, and this will be expansion 2. We once again only want to get the active concepts, and we'll hit create here. Once we reload the page, we'll see that expansion 2 does have this new concept in here. We'll go to explore it and make sure it looks good. And there you go. Our new concept is right there. All we had to do was create that new expansion, and now we can do some checks, make sure that the content is everything we expect it to be. If everything looks good, then we can set this as the new default expansion. Now, instead of going to this version, this expansion of this version will default to expansion 2. So integrating systems that are subscribed to version 1 they will get the new content, but they didn't have to do any manual updates. They just hit an update button and they'll get the concepts from expansion 2 now. This is the end of our Collection Management Basics video for OCL. Thank you very much for watching, and please visit us at openconceptlab.org to join the community and to learn more about the latest happenings with OCL. Thanks for watching.